Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Radio Free Endor. We're finally back after a brief to long kind of hiatus. I'm Jonathan, and joining me, of course, is Nicki.
Hello.
Yep, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, and it's not just rumors. We have a lot of official news to discuss. Mostly
it's about time.
Yes, most notably Rogue One. So.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll mostly just cover the April stuff and a little bit of the end of March, but there's only so much time. And
right.
I think people are going to want to hear our thoughts mostly about some of this real official news.
Exactly.
Okay, so first, we got let's see. So Rogue One coming December 2016. First I wanted to go over this This Is Madness, Star Wars This Is Madness. I haven't kept up with it as much as the previous couple of years, but I have done some voting. So,
yeah, I did a bit of voting, but I haven't really kept up with it, just because of just being incredibly busy.
Yeah, so right now we got Obi-Wan versus Han Solo and Vader versus Boba Fett. I know two of the characters you really love.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Han Solo, because as much as I adore Obi-Wan, come on. And Vader versus Boba is really hard for me because I love both those characters so much. My heart says Boba, but my knowledge of the Force and my knowledge of all things that Vader can do says there's no way anybody's going to beat Vader.
Yeah, I agree. Who lost? Because last couple of years Yoda got pretty far, but he didn't even get to the Final Four.
Yeah, Yoda was in the Final Four the last couple of years. I don't know. I think that people are either new people are voting or people are just wanting a little change up.
Right, so I know, and plus we got a lot of new characters kind of thrown in the mix. We're not going to really go through all of them, but there was definitely some interesting ones in there, and some people were some ones that just had no chance. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's cool they keep putting Greedo in, but come on. I mean, it's Greedo.
Yeah. I think as the years go on, I think some of these Rebels characters, as well as actually, by the time we get This Is Madness again, we'll have Episode 7 characters, plus the Rebels characters will be a lot more popular, so.
Right, exactly. I think it'll be, it won't be just, Episodes 4 through 6 Han Solo. It'll be, Episode 7 Han Solo. It'll be Episode 7 Luke Skywalker. It'll be Episode 7, all these new characters that we have. So it should be more interesting next year. I think it's hard when you pretty much just have the same characters every year. Just because it's we've done this already. How many more times can we vote for Han Solo? I can vote a lot for Han Solo.
Yes, I know. We've made that very clear on the podcast.
If it came down to him and Boba, it would be a gut-wrenching decision. But I would still go with Han. But yeah, I think once we have more characters to choose from, it'll be a little more easier and be a little more interesting.
Right. So I'm going to go for Obi-Wan versus Vader.
Well, that's the classic showdown right there.
You know, so I think it's definitely. I think Han Solo. I mean, I think right now, I believe they're like 50-50. If I remember correctly.
The last time I voted, they were.
Let's see what the. Yeah, they are 50-50. Vader has 66 over 34 Boba Fett, so...
Yeah, I expect Vader to take that one, just because it's Vader. I mean, he is the ultimate badass. Boba is a mercenary. He will work for whoever pays him the most, so he could be good, he could be bad, he could be indifferent. So, I think in terms of just total annihilation of their enemy, Vader wins every time.
So it looks like Yoda lost to Obi-Wan, which was really hard. That would have been really hard.
That's a tough decision. I would have to go Obi-Wan just because Ewan McGregor would kind of push me over the edge.
And this was a 48 versus 52. Another really close one.
Yeah, so it just depends on who's voting, and some people vote like, okay, vote for this person today, and then this person tomorrow, and then.
Are people voting for who they think will win, like who has better shot, or are they voting for like their favorite? I think it's kind of a mixture of both.
Yeah, I think you have the people who's like, oh, Ewan McGregor is so cute, so I'm gonna vote for Obi-Wan. But then it's like, well, Yoda.
I mean, I don't think anyone has. I mean, I'm sure there's some big Java fans out there that maybe would have had Java in the Final Four, but it's
big
unlikely.
Java fans.
It's unlikely.
Yeah, I don't really see a lot of those around.
Yeah.
It's not really that popular, a fan favorite.
Maybe if someone could speak Huttese. If you could speak Huttese, please write to us. radiofreeendor@gmail.com.
Explain to us.
You automatically get
Huttese.
Yes, you automatically get a place on the show if you can speak fluently in Huttese. And you're not just speaking the same thing over and over again. But,
right, it's not just the same stuff from the movie.
But then again, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so I think we'll go ahead and move on to perhaps the biggest thing, I think, is, so I think personally, I think Vader has an excellent shot of winning the whole thing.
Yeah, I think no matter who he goes up against, Vader is probably going to win.
And I think he won 2 years ago or last year. I can't remember.
I don't remember, but he's won a couple times.
Yeah. I believe this is the third year they've done it.
I'm thinking there was another voting thing that we did a few years ago.
Oh, I see.
But it was similar. But it was Trek versus Wars.
Right. Oh, yeah. So let's get started on that.
We got Mara Jade to win. But yeah, I lose track of like the voting stuff sometimes. Like, we've really done it that many times.
Yeah. Okay, so first, we're getting to Star Wars Rogue One, and of course there's been a lot of speculation. I mean, it could be, taking place between the OT and the NT, the new trilogy, or whatever you want to call it. But then there's also a lot of speculation as whether it could takes place, about getting the Death Star plan. So in between this. Pretty close to the original Star Wars.
I wonder if we'll see the Boffins for the first time, if it's that case, where we're learning the plans for the Death Star, because many Boffins died.
I thought that was for a Death Star 2.
To bring us this information.
I thought that was Death Star 2.
Oh, it was, but,
yeah,
somebody had to get the ones for the first Death Star, because R2 had them.
Right, of course.
And Boffins seemed to be their go-to.
Yeah. So the person that's been cast is Felicity Jones, and I don't know about you, but I know her from her latest role as Stephen Hawking's wife, and she was perfect in that. She really, what's his? Oh, I'm blanking out his name.
Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne definitely beat an amazing performance. He, I think, probably barely beat Michael Keaton and
Yeah,
also
that
an
was a
amazing
tough
performance. And yeah, I mean, she really was able to stand her ground and really, keep up with Eddie Redmayne in the story. So I think she's great.
She's a great actress, and I look forward to seeing, and I know she's a fan, so I look forward to seeing what it's going to be. I was just surprised that this is the first standalone, was Rogue One. I was like, because all the rumors we'd been hearing about what possibly the standalones were going to be were like Han Solo as a teenager, Yoda, Boba Fett, all these other things, and then it turns out to be Rogue One. It's like, that wasn't even on anybody's radar. Part of me kind of hopes we're going to be dealing with Rogue Squadron stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe some, young Wedge. But, I'm interested to find out more because it's so out of nowhere. I was like, Rogue One? What? So it intrigues me actually probably more than building a movie around an established character.
And someone did make a fan poster that kind of looks a little bit like Mara Jade.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was pretty cool.
And it actually looked. I mean, some fan posters are kind of mediocre, but I thought this one was. When I looked at it, I'm like, wait a second, is that real? But then I'm like, no. It'll be a little bit until we get like an official poster or something. So of course we knew that. I thought it's interesting that we still have George Lucas. Well, it is a fan poster, so we don't know if the official one probably won't have George Lucas, but
well, I think he's because he's still a consultant, and I think he'll probably be listed as executive producer or in some form on any character develop.
Characters by kind of like Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah. So it's just. George Lucas' name will always be attached to anything Star Wars, and Lucasfilm is still the production company, so he's not going anywhere.
Right. So yeah, I think it's definitely a cool thing. So I think it's cool that, for episode 7, we don't quite know who, the lead is, or if there's a male and female that's going to lead. But for this one, I mean, I'm pretty sure it looks like, Felicity Jones will be the lead. At least that's where we're...
Yeah, I like that we're going to have a female lead character, and if she's Rogue One, because we know it's established that the pilots could be any gender. It's, so...
Especially Grandma.
What? Grandma? You mean Mon Mothma?
No. The pilot, the Granny...
Oh.
Granny B-Wing or Granny...
Yeah.
I don't know what. Yeah, I was just looking at a picture of her. I'm just like, what the heck?
Well, hopefully they'll bring some more news to Celebration.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and of course, we've known about Gareth Edwards, who I've only known him really for Godzilla. And because of Star Wars, he's not going to do Godzilla 2 for a while now, which is
fine.
Yeah.
It was an okay film. It wasn't. I'm a big fan of the original, and as cheesy as those are, I was just like, it was okay.
Yeah.
Even my 9-year-old nephew was like, it was okay.
Yeah. I think so. We also know that Alexandra. Desplat, who we actually got 2 Oscar nominations for Grand Budapest Hotel and The Imitation Game, and he won for Grand Budapest Hotel.
Deservedly so. It's a fantastic film.
Yeah,
the music was stunning.
Yeah, I agree. It really just kind of pushed the scene along, and
he's a really amazing composer, and I've admired his work. For many years. So I'm really happy that if you can't get John Williams, Alexandre Desplat is pretty much right up there.
Yeah, so, I mean, of course, I think the speculation is because, John Williams is getting older, so, and I think...
He's in his 80s, so we're not going to have... We think he's going to probably stick to official episodes.
Yeah.
And not 2 standalones, which is fine. I don't want him to overdo it. He also does other things, but I know that he's had to pull out of some projects in the last couple of years.
I mean, most notably, I mean, the recent one is Spielberg's Cold War film, which this is the first time in 30 or 40 years since he hasn't done music for a Spielberg film. You know, so it's...
I'm sure, I mean, they've worked with him for so long. I'm sure Steven is just like, you have to take care of yourself, because, I mean, he's in his 80s.
Right.
And he's contributed so much to so many different franchises and standalone films, and like from Star Wars to Harry Potter to everything Spielberg to Indiana Jones. I mean, he doesn't have to work ever, but he still wants to as long as he can, and you have to admire that. But you also have to say, he deserves a break.
Yeah, I mean this this Spielberg. I mean, this John Williams, Star Wars relationship, and really even more the Spielberg-Williams relationship. Eventually we knew that, it was going to come to an end, and Spielberg is, at least 10 years younger than Williams, so it's not like they're going to retire at the same time,
Right, and then you have, and Spielberg was the one who introduced George to John, so, because he had scored Jaws.
Right. 40 years of Jaws this year.
Yeah, and then I think he'd done one of Spielberg's earlier films. I can't remember which one it was, though. So, I mean, Spielberg really is the catalyst for everything we love so much about John Williams' music. He's brought him into popular film. So, I think, as much as I would love him to go on forever and ever and ever, because I love the scores he writes for all the films he's composed for, I want him to rest because he is elderly and not push himself. But I also think maybe, he's such a ambassador for young artists, and he does so much to help young composers that I think it's maybe his time to pass the torch.
Right.
To encourage other composers and to push them to the forefront, which is something he's done for decades, is helping young composers. So many of our current movie composers have learned at his knee, so to speak. So I just want him to take care of himself and be healthy, and if he can, compose a few more Star Wars themes, then that's great. But if not, I know there are so many composers who can not mimic him, but who can enhance and honor him at the same time.
Agreed. So the next thing we have, episode 8. Looks like they're gonna move back to the May release.
Finally, oh thank God.
I mean, I'm not sure if it'll,
if it'll work out, but as much as I am looking forward to episode 7, and I beyond any film I've ever waited for, it still bothers me that it's being released in December. It's such a small thing, but to me, Star Wars is May, and I know it couldn't be this May because you're competing against the juggernaut of the Avengers, Age of Ultron, and all these other huge films coming out this summer. And Star Wars could either be a summer or a holiday film, and I agree with that. But to me, it's such a May tradition to see a Star Wars film, and I mean, on the anniversary of episode
40 years. 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, so this year on May 25th, I will be, as is my annual tradition, I will be watching A New Hope on the anniversary. Nice. And which I do on the anniversary of the original trilogy, and, of each film. So, not that I don't watch it any other time during the year. But I'm glad we're getting back to May, and I understand why they pushed this one to 7 to December. I just wish they had pushed it. I just wish Disney hadn't been so insistent that it be released in 2015 and let us have it in 2016 in May. But, can't change Disney. Disney's going to do what they want to do.
So it looks like as of now they're going to release Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
2017.
Yeah, at the beginning, that first Friday of May. So, I mean, I suppose, these big fans are going to come out and see at the beginning.
See both. Everybody's going to see both. I'm not worried about one overtaking the other. If they have such similar audiences, and let Guardians have 3 weeks of domination, and then Star Wars take over.
Yep, exactly.
So I mean, I'll be seeing both opening nights. So I mean, it's just going to mean that May is a really spectacular month for sci-fi film.
Yep, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get an X-Men film or something.
Apocalypse is going to start shooting soon. And
yeah, so you never know. There's a very good chance I'm sure we'll get another huge film that month.
Civil War and Avengers Civil War, and then not Avengers, Captain America.
Yeah.
Tony versus Cap, but so many things are. I mean, it's just Disney is making money hand over fist, and the smartest thing they ever did was buy Marvel and Lucasfilm.
Yeah, and Pixar. I mean, Inside Out's coming out this June, and that looks amazing. So,
and thank George Lucas for that too, because Pixar started as a division of Lucasfilm. So,
right.
So George is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Uncle George.
The maker.
Thank the maker.
God himself.
Okay, so now let's move on to Star Wars Weekends coming up. I can't believe it's already Star Wars Weekends.
I thought they were stopping doing those, too. They had announced last year that they were probably going to stop, but I'm glad they're not. I just wish they'd do it in California.
Yeah, well, you guys got all sorts of other stuff to do.
We have to do unofficial Star Wars Weekends at Disneyland in LA and in Anaheim. I mean, so it's like, really, we can't have an official Star Wars Weekend? Wouldn't it be easier to do it here?
Yeah.
But, it's an excuse for people to get to go to Disney World, and if I could afford it and get the time off work, I would definitely be going. Because I've only ever done unofficial Star Wars Weekends at Disneyland. I've never been there for the ones at Disney World.
Yeah, I've never actually been to one. Been to a Star Wars Weekends, but definitely I'd like to at some point. So let's see. We got so May 5th, the first weekend. We got Amy McDermott, Amy Allen, which is
Ayala.
Yeah. We also got the voice of Sabine, Tia Sikar. The next time we got Warwick Davis and lots of other like the voice. Let's see, Ki-Adi-Mundi guy.
Voice of Hera.
Voice of Hera.
Well, Silas Carson has been so many different.
Right. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll post this article up, but there's. So Warwick Davis is going to be on at least a couple weekends.
He's such a great ambassador for Star Wars. He goes to all those celebrations, and and I love how they're including like every weekend is a different animation voice.
Right.
Because you have Ashley. So you have the first weekend is Sabine, second weekend is Hera, then Zeb, then Ashley, and then Taylor Gray's Ezra on the last weekend, and then you have Frank Oz going, and I don't think he's ever been. I don't think you've ever. I've never seen his name on a Star Wars weekend, so I could be wrong about that. Because I don't pay that close attention because I never get to go. Ray Park, he shows up a lot.
Yeah, so he's got a couple Ray Park's got a couple weekends.
Well, Jeremy Bulloch. Oh.
Yep.
Who's not a stranger to Star Wars weekends and is such an amazing human being, not just because he's the original Boba Fett, but because he's just a genuinely nice guy, great ambassador for Star Wars, and a true fan. And in fact, if you talk to him, which I have, he's such a nice guy, and he's the first to tell you he's actually not the one in the suit in the most iconic Boba Fett moments.
Right.
So he was actually in a storm. He was a stormtrooper in the carbon freezing scene.
Right.
But he'll always be my Boba.
Yeah. So there's a lot of weekends, a lot of great guests. So and most
anybody goes, let us know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's only a few people that are going to be there multiple weekends. And actually, I don't think I saw James Arnold Taylor.
No, he's not on it.
Surprising.
Maybe he's too busy.
Yeah.
Though he's never been too busy for Star Wars, so I don't know. Maybe he's trying to move on with his career, such as it is.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so lots of people going.
Unless he's hosting it like he usually does.
Right. So yeah, you'll have to choose a weekend. Choose wisely.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the next thing on the list. So what's next on the list?
Okay, I just lost it. I lost my list. Where's it?
Okay, so I'll go ahead and go.
Okay.
Okay. So we have EA is seeking some people to try out Star Wars Battlefront.
Are you gonna sign up? Because I ain't gonna be me.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
not a video game person. So I played the original Battlefront like years ago, and I still have all the packaging because somebody gave me all the stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, well, that's going into the collection because I'm never going to play it. But so guys, somebody needs to sign up and let us know, how the video game is.
Yeah. Well, let's see. It looks
I'll
like
try really hard not to fall asleep.
You fell asleep?
I fall asleep during video games. I can't help it. I get tired. I get sleepy.
I mean, it looks like actually have to play on location, I think, unless I'm reading this wrong. It says you actually have to play 3 to 4 hours of DICE's shooter in San Francisco and
Vancouver.
So I suppose you actually have to go there.
You do. You have to play it at the studios.
Yeah, so I guess it's opposed.
Oh, and you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Right.
Damn it.
So I guess
I'm close to Vancouver, but I can't play video games.
So it's kind of different. As opposed to a beta player where you can play it anywhere. This is like much more secret and such. Kind of like like one of those private screenings to kind of test audiences.
Yeah, I bet they'll do. They said they're going to reveal the trailer at Celebration. I'm pretty sure they'll probably have because EA is usually there with places with monitors where you can play video games at the Celebration. So they might have some footage there some version of it there that can be played, on site. So.
Right. So the next thing. Something that happened back in March is that Harrison Ford was in a plane crash, and I'm not sure what your reaction was, but there was tons of misinformation. Is he? Do we expect the worst? Is he just
I can
critical?
say I got an email notice from Huffington Post that he had been in a plane crash, so I instantly started panicking and actually cried until I could open up Huffington Post and read the story. And when the initial story was that he crashed on the golf course and nobody really knew what was going on, that he'd been injured and he'd been taken to the hospital. And then information came out pretty quickly because people on the golf course were like, yeah, he just got out of the plane and was walking around and his head was bleeding. When I heard that he walked away from it on his own, I was really relieved. This is not his first crash. He is a very seasoned pilot, and all seasoned pilots know is you are going to crash sometimes. He had plane malfunction. It's a World War II test plane. It's not new. So when they had people coming out and say, yeah, he walked away from it, he was coherent, he was able to speak, I felt a lot better. I knew they'd have taken him to the hospital. He was only there for a couple days. So, I mean, he's been through this before, but it's still scary when you hear that your favorite actor of all time is hurt in a plane crash. Because that's what I worry about with any of the actors I love fly planes. I'm like, oh, God, please don't die. Please don't die in a plane crash. Please, 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 please. And So I'm really relieved that he's okay. I had to tell Leah and say, basically, he's okay, but Harrison crashed his plane today. Where you have to lead off with, he's okay. So it was scary, and, a lot of people made jokes about him flying solo, and if he'd had Chewbacca with him, he wouldn't have crashed, and I was like, then there was a story in the Inquirer that it was a government sabotage, or somebody sabotaged his plane so no more Star Wars films could be made, and I was just like, really, people? He was flying a 70-plus-year-old plane, and and he had engine difficulty. It's, we see conspiracies everywhere, but he's okay. He's recovering, with his family, and he, minor injuries, which is amazing considering when you see the crash, you see the state of that plane. It's just amazing anybody walked away from it.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that he, landed on a golf course where doctors are playing, so...
Yeah, shock, great. A doctor was on the golf course. That was my reaction, too.
So he's like, let's see, where should I land? There's a golf course.
Golf course. I bet there's a doctor or 3 there.
Yeah,
and the guy who helped him, they said they didn't even realize who he was until he spoke. And then you can't mistake that voice. It's like, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, just a little plane trouble.
They said, was it a snake?
I saw a snake in the cockpit. But yeah, and I think, the doctors go into that mode where you just, that's part of the Hippocratic Oath, and you go and you help who needs to be helped. They call the ambulance. It was hard seeing him, wheeled away on a stretcher, but it was just, it was a relief that he's okay, and I know he's not going to stop flying. I mean, he's going to be 73 this year on July 13th. So, the guy's not going to stop flying, and I don't think anybody would want him to, because it's such a part of who he is.
Right. So April Fool's Day, I actually played a little April Fool's joke on my Radio Ramen listeners, or at least I'm not sure actually how many people actually saw it. I didn't do it on the podcast. I just put it on the Facebook page.
What did you do?
You okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I kind of just said we're doing this anime, and then later I said no, we're not. I'd rather not describe it. I'd rather just look at it, and it's just it's super mature kind of stuff, and it's a guilty pleasure of mine, but it's never something we would review weekly.
Gotcha.
It's just one of those things.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is the first year I didn't do anything April Fool's because my mom had to have emergency gallbladder surgery on April 1st. And my goddaughter Zoe, who's 3 months old, she had to have surgery on that same day. So it was considering how March kind of sucked for my family.
Yeah.
It was like I was just not in the mood. Usually I call my mother and I say, okay, you ready? And she says, yes. I go, okay, Mom, I'm pregnant. She goes, oh no, what are we ever going to do? Because it's the same thing I do every year because I do it because we have those reactions. But yeah, so I was way more focused on, my mom and baby Zoe, and making sure both of them were okay. And I got to meet baby Zoe's namesake, or who she was named after, at Emerald City, so I got to tell her mommy about that.
So what is this practical joke? What is this Jar Jar joke?
I did not see this, because, like I said, I was, not online pretty much all that day. What did they say that he was going to be in the next film?
Yeah, something about that.
Oh, dear God. I'm the first one. Okay, I don't care about Jar Jar. I don't find him that offensive. He was a little bit annoying. He's not in it enough to bother me, but let's see. What does it say? Oh, it was that Jar Jar was declared the winner.
Oh, okay, yes.
Of that matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like anybody would vote for Jar Jar.
Right. I think if someone would have kind of stepped up to Lucas, we could have dialed down the Jar Jar stuff a little bit. But I'm not one of those people who like wants to recut episode 1 and just like cut out everything Jar Jar jokey.
No phantom edit for you, huh?
No, I think it's just. But
he doesn't. He's not in it enough to bother me. I mean,
agreed.
There was a comparison of criticism of Jar Jar from episode 1 and 3PO from episode 4, and some reviewers said almost the exact same things they said about C-3PO in 77 that they said about Jar Jar, that he's the most annoying character in film, that he's so irritating, that he's this, that he's that. I'm like, okay, he's never going to be beloved like 3PO is, but, I mean, you got to put it in perspective. You're giving him an awful lot of power. You're giving this character an awful lot of responsibility when he's really not in it that much.
I mean, then we had then people forgot about C-3PO being annoying, and we got the Ewoks. And then the Ewok, kind of criticisms went away when Jar Jar came. So
I love the Ewoks. I never understood why people hated the Ewoks. They're so fun.
And they will eat you.
Yes. Do not piss off an Ewok. A Wookiee will back off, won't eat a human.
He'll pull your arms off, but he won't.
Right, but he won't. He's not going to eat you like an Ewok will. I mean, but I never understood. I mean, we had animated Ewoks. We had the Ewok Adventures. It was funny because at Emerald City, I was looking at some art, and somebody had actually drawn an image from one of the Ewok Adventures, and he said I was the only one who knew who the characters were. Oh. I was like, oh, it's Sindel, and it's this, and it's that. He goes, you're the only one who has ever known who Sindel was. I was like, oh my god, really? She's kind of epic in the Star Wars fandom. If you grew up during the Ewok Adventures.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen much.
Yeah,
of it.
You don't really need to.
I've seen. I think I've seen all or at least most of the droid stuff. I like the theme song.
Yeah, I have the droids. The Ewok Adventures were 2 live action films.
Yeah, I saw those. I saw the live action films, but I didn't.
Yeah, Sindel is the little curly haired girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that got a little dark.
Yeah, those were really dark, and I think that's why a lot of us liked it. But as kids, where it's like her parents are murdered, and it's like, it was really twisted, but it was also really great storytelling. But a lot of people were like, oh, like, she's just so cute. She's got the little curly blonde hair. I was like, oh, just shut up and enjoy it. But, and then we had the Ewok animated series, which is where we got Princess Nisa and Wicket, which was awfully cute, but yeah. So Jar Jar haters, just give it up.
Yeah, let it go.
Let her go. Be like Princess Elsa. Just let it go.
Right. Yeah, I would wonder if someone would like cut together some kind of Elsa singing and then Jar Jar, about letting go of Jar Jar.
Yeah, I wish. And the guy. Okay, I love all my fellow cosplayers at Celebration. I really do. But the guy who dresses up like Chef Vader with Jar Jar's head on a platter.
Wow.
It's every year. It's time to stop.
Wow, I don't think I've actually seen that.
We get the joke. He's been at every celebration I've been to, and he's been at a couple of other cons. It's done. We get the joke.
Is there like blood and stuff around it?
It's like Jar Jar's. It's like a Jar Jar mask with like his tongue sticking out.
Oh, wow, that's
like, ooh, I'm dead, with like fake vegetables. I'm like, really? Okay, enough's enough. Put somebody else. If you want to do Chef Vader, do a different. But I'm just kind of done with all the Jar Jar hate.
Yeah,
it's like you're giving the whole thing way too much responsibility.
Agreed. I mean, overall, the Jar Jar character arc is actually pretty good. It's almost if you think about it, it's kind of a hero's journey.
Well, yeah, he starts out as a total misfit, and he's the one who brings the Gungans and the Naboo together, and he eventually becomes a senator. But it's like, everybody forgets that and just says,
representative.
Representative.
No, we don't want to get any emails.
Sorry. Well, a senator is a representative. But he's like, people kind of leave him out of the second film. And I'm like, or blame him. Oh, he was the one who voted for the creation of the army. I was like, a lot of people had to vote for the creation of the army. It wasn't just one senator or one representative saying, okay, let's do this. It was a lot of people. He was not the only one who was responsible for the creation of a clone army. Can we blame who really is responsible? Okay.
Yeah.
Can we blame Palpatine, please? And the Trade Federation and Count Dooku and the Sith, and don't blame this idiotic Gungan dude. So
let's see. What do you want to discuss next? How about
Celebration is coming. I am so bummed I'm not.
Yes, I know. Neither of us are going.
It makes me sad. It's only the second one I've ever missed.
So we do have this panel called what? The Rise
of the Force.
Yes, and Disney.France has reporting. I thought it's always interesting when we get like these foreign countries, that are releasing these kind of announcements or trailers. Like we had that German Star Wars Rebels trailer, I think.
Yeah.
It's just interesting how all these.
I think they're not as flooded with information like we are here. Like, it's like all these, it's like one story that's told 1,000 times. So you can't really weed through it. And I think sometimes they just get the information faster and less convoluted and less diluted than we do. But I think it's like The Force Awakens and then The Rise of the Force. So first the Force wakes up and then it rises out of bed.
Yep.
Is that what we're calling it? The Rise of the Force?
Right.
Well, hopefully Leah, our good friend who is going, will be able to get into this panel and report back to us.
Yes.
I should have several friends going and several artists that I know who are going, so hopefully we'll get some good information. And Leah's getting me a t-shirt.
Nice.
To go with my Celebration t-shirt collection.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, and I thought I read somewhere there was going to be some kind of simulcast of one of the panels, but I'm having trouble finding the link.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a really good idea is to have those things streaming live.
Yeah, I could have sworn I came across an article that told about that. I can't find it.
Let's see. Yeah, it's there's going to be a live launch of the panel with JJ and Kathleen Kennedy. The panel would be broadcast live in 35 cinemas in 23 countries. But all these are UK and French cinemas so far.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it's going to be broadcast to any of us here in the humble United States, or if it's just going to be for people in Europe. But it's a good idea, and I think they'd be really, really smart to have a live stream feed of all the panels.
Yeah. All the panels might be a little too much to ask. I don't know.
Or just the big ones.
I mean, granted,
there's not that many panels that go on.
I mean, granted, I guess, just not show the footage. I mean, I guess they do put all the panels of San Diego on, so...
Right, but they edit it out so you don't see any footage of anything shown.
Yeah, so that'd be cool to see that, so...
Yeah, I think they would be really smart, even if it was like an hour later and they didn't show any of the footage, just show us what was going on at the panel.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, just record it,
Yeah. Just have it playing on the website. I mean, I think you get, there's so many people who can't go.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing, we do have some Star Wars Rebels are boosting the Disney XD ratings in the first quarter.
Yep, they were very smart. It's a great show. It's, Disney XD has a lot of really cool shows, but I think this one, Star Wars always brings with it an instant audience. So I think that audience will stay around and watch some of the other stuff on Disney XD.
Yeah, we're not going to go through the numbers because it's extremely complicated.
And boring.
So you guys can look at it yourself.
But Star Wars Rebels, great numbers. And even if we weren't already guaranteed a second season, this would just confirm it.
Right.
But we knew before we were getting a second season. So congratulations to Rebels. They totally deserve the accolades. And congratulations to Clone Wars for its last season getting some
Daytime
nominations.
Daytime Emmy Awards.
Yeah.
Definitely cool, because this, of course, is the Lost Missions.
Yeah. So we even got Mark Hamill, another Emmy Award nomination.
Yep.
For voicing for Darth Bane.
Yep.
Which is so cool because Darth Bane is a character that a lot of us who love the EU really have been intrigued by. So yeah, congrats to everyone at Lucas Animation because a lot of George is still listed as the exec producer. So this is all, for the last season.
Yeah, I remember when Mark Hamill, I was listening to something, and apparently Mark Hamill, he was with Dave Filoni, and I think he accidentally spoke that he was going to be like a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
He spoke out a little too early.
Yeah.
Which was really exciting when he said that.
Yeah. Mark Hamill, I think he's really proved himself to be a really good character actor lately, like the last 20, 25 years, especially with his voiceover work. And if you watch The Flash, his last week as the Trickster, I mean, if that guy doesn't get a guest actor nomination for the regular Emmys, I mean, there's no justice. I mean, I'm not a fan of Luke Skywalker as a character. And I kind of took that out on Mark Hamill for a while. Plus, he was rude to me the first time I met him.
Oh, yeah, you told me.
We've made up. But I think I've never not been a supporter of his voiceover career. But this, I think, was his best performance as the Trickster. I think was one of his best acting performances yet. He's so good. And I'm talking even better than Jay and Bob Strike Back.
Yep. So we do have some posters. We're going to start giving some tie-ins with Trick cereal. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I did all those kind of cereal and all those giveaways for the prequel trilogy. Just to warn people who might be listening, don't enter everything because you will have so much crap.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much. I have so much stuff from the Eggo thing, from the cereal boxes, from the Pepsi cans, it's like there's so many giveaways. Just be really picky.
Yeah, I know some person I heard on a podcast where he won some kind of, I think he just kept some Star Wars Coke or something, or was it it was either that, no, I think it was this C3PO 3POs, the cereal, and I think it's just apparently when people have tried that stuff, it's just after decades, it's disgusting. So
it was disgusting in the 80s. Let's just say that because I ate it when I was a kid, and it wasn't good. It wasn't supposed to be. Trix, however, is for people who like that kind of cereal, it's pretty okay. It tastes a little packing peanuts to me, but I'm the one who I pretty much just eat Honey Smacks right out of the box. So just be careful because I collected all the cans for Pepsi, the Pepsi cans for the prequels.
Do you still have any unopened?
They're all unopened.
Oh.
I had a whole 12-pack of Diet Pepsi that I had not opened, and we decided to try to open one, and it was pretty 10 years later, and it was I was like, I almost put me off soda forever.
Wow,
put me off Pepsi.
Yeah, I think I've heard about someone doing that. So it's just, I bet.
Yeah. So after that, I was like, I can't collect everything. So just be really careful when you collect, people, because there's so much stuff out there, and don't just collect because you think it's gonna be worth something.
Yeah, I suppose
it's only worth as much as somebody's willing to pay you for it.
Do people ever have to give you an intervention? A collecting intervention?
Yeah, that's happened.
Wow.
That's why I don't collect action figures anymore, except with the new movie coming out.
Yep.
I'm going to have to go back on that. Well, I have over 600 action figures. So it got to the point where I just don't have anywhere to put them. And what's the point of collecting all these things if they're just going to be in boxes and nobody can see them? So, yeah, there was an intervention. There was you have to stop buying everything that says Star Wars. Because I have all these like art kits and desk sets and notebooks and the little tiny things from the dollar bins at Target. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with all of this? So that's when I started. I just said, okay, from now on, it's going to be art, sculpture, busts, hot toys kind of things. It's going to be the high end, what I can afford.
Right.
Something I really, really have to have. And not just, oh, look, that piece of that soap has an R2-D2 embedded in it. I'm going to buy that soap and never use it. Right. And I say this because it's true. I have a bar of soap with R2-D2 embedded in it that I've never used.
Yeah.
Because that's how bad it is.
Wow. Anything else we should cover?
No, I think that's good. I would like to say that if anybody who listens knows anybody who works at Emerald City Comic Con, there really needs to be a Star Wars presence there. Because aside from a few stormtroopers and a banner for the costume exhibit at the museum in Seattle, there really wasn't a Star Wars presence there. A couple of the voiceover actors were there. Steve Bloom was there. I didn't get over there because I had a mission at this Comic-Con.
Yep. Tell them about this mission.
Mission fulfilled. I met Clark Gregg finally. I met Agent Coulson.
I know.
And he knew who I was.
What did you say when you said I'm the I Heart Coulson?
I walked up and they said, what name do you want on the post-it? And I said I Heart Coulson because that's, if he knows me at all, that's how he knows me on Twitter. So when I got up there, I said, hi. And he shook my hand. He said, hi. And I said, I'm I Heart Coulson. And I was fully expecting one of several reactions. The worst one being, who? The best one in my head being, oh, it's very nice to meet you. How do you want me to sign this? And the out of my realm of imagination was, oh my God, it's you. I've met, it's da-da-da-da-da. We've talked about this, and this. And I got that.
Great. He
knew who I was because I said, I'm I Heart Coulson. And he just smiled and his eyes got big. Oh my God, finally, was what he said. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, you're one of the original gangsters.
Yeah, I think it's always cool. Like, I think it's always great how...
And he said, can I hug you? And it was like, yeah.
Wait, he asked... Wait, who asked to hug?
He asked me if he could hug me.
Wow.
He asked to hug me.
Yeah.
And in our picture later, a couple hours later, he was the one who hugged me. And that's the picture, is because I did we chatted for a pretty fair decent amount of time at the autograph thing. And he signed my picture and I got a t-shirt. He gave me a t-shirt, which only a few people got.
Nice.
It says 50 Shades of Greg, and it's all these different pictures. It's all these pictures of him at various shades of gray.
Sounds shady.
Yeah, he signed my picture. It said, it said to Agent Nicki, Clark Gregg, and then underneath it he wrote, I Heart Nicki. And I gave him his present because it was an early birthday present and some cookies, the Agent Coulson chip cookies.
Nice.
And I said, I'll see you at the photo op. And we had a lovely chat. I'm not going to go into everything we talked about, but when I got to the photo op, I walked in and he smiled and I said, I'm back. And he just kind of grabbed me and put his arm around me and rested his head on my head. Right. And so I like put my arm around him and then his other arm came around the front and I'm like, oh, we're doing this. And we just hugged and then they took the picture and I was like, that's the picture. Okay, Clark Gregg just pulled me into a hug and that's my picture. So awesome. He's a lovely, lovely man and he's so dedicated to his fans. And I thanked him for that and for all of the time and generosity that he's shown us. So I've always had good, it's one of the best experiences I've had, and I've pretty much only had good experiences, especially with Star Wars people too. With the exception of my first meeting with Mark Hamill, all my Star Wars meetings have been amazing. This tops everything, but it's been pretty cool.
Sweet. Yeah, so I'm gonna be, if anyone's into anime, I'll be at Teco in downtown Pittsburgh in a couple weeks. So
awesome.
So if you're there, so I mean, with graduation and everything, I don't really have time to. I didn't really have time to go to that Steel City Con because I don't have a car and it's way too far. But this con is just right down the street from me, so I just couldn't resist, and I'll have press there, and hopefully, so tweet at Radio Ramen if you got any questions or so. I'll try to ask the guests and stuff there. So, of course, we'll talk about that on another episode as well.
Awesome.
So where can they reach us, Nicki?
Well, they can reach us on Twitter at Radio Free Endor, or if they want to just talk to you, they can contact you at JEBell49er and me at iHeartColson. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Free Endor, part of the Southgate Media Group. And go visit them for all of your podcasting needs.
Right. Also, check out Nicki's Helicarrier podcast.
Yeah. It's getting pretty intense over there on the Helicarrier with everything going on S.H.I.E.L.D. So come visit us over at helicarrierpodcast.com and across the airwaves.
But still listen to Enough Said.
Yes, please listen to Enough Said. It's an awesome podcast.
Yes. Lil, Jack, and Rob do some great stuff in there. Sometimes getting a little, confused, running with their heads cut off at times, but it's a lot of fun. Those guys are great. You can also email us at radiofreeendor@gmail.com. There's also, and of course we'll be back with Rebels Cast probably in the fall, if that's when the next season starts, which is what I'm thinking. Yeah,
we're at the mercy of Disney, so be patient with us.
Yeah, and there's actually another Rebels Cast in the UK, so likely there hasn't been any mix-up with that, but, Okay. So I think that is it. Okay, so so check out all the podcasts and tons of stuff goes on to make this Southgate Media possible. So, volunteer, you want to be part of it anyway, just contact us. So, okay, so at the Southgate Media Group and Radio Free Endor, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Nicki.
And thanks for listening.